Thank you. My name is Eugene Anangwe. I work for Contact FM. My question is on East African community integration. I'd like to know if you share the same feeling that there is a slow pace in implementing some of the already agreed protocols, and are we rushing to sign others and negotiate others when we are taking a lot of time to implement the ones that we've already agreed upon? Thank you.
What I can say is that I know for sure, and as everyone else knows, I guess, that implementation of some of these protocols or the integration process as such is a complex process. It's not one that you wish to have this in place and then you have it the next day, because it involves millions of people, who have different opinions and feelings about different things. It involves really dealing with these lives in a major way, in deciding what happens to them, and they must be part of that process in order for it to work. So some of the things are not easy, but nonetheless we have to start from somewhere and get going. And the pace is going to be determined by some of the realities we find along the way. Or some of them are already known, and we have to deal with them, not in a rush. I think there are certain things we can do to speed up the process, but there are other things that almost happen at their own pace, naturally, and you just can't push any harder. But we do our best to create frameworks, to incentivize, to communicate with each other and get a better understanding of what we are doing and what we need to do. So for me, we cannot be discouraged by how difficult the process is or how complex it is. We just need to put our energy and effort behind what can be achieved and what can be done, and we keep doing what is possible to do, or maybe we do one thing and it leads to the happening of the other later on. So we just need to get going. We need to get going. We need, so that what can happen happens, and what will happen later will also happen later. But it's good, as has happened, to set certain deadlines or to create these timelines, which means a certain level of ambition. But you may go beyond a certain set deadline, depending on some of these realities that I'm talking about, and that will be understandable. But you have an objective, you set a deadline, that's what you wish to achieve at a certain date, and then you do your best. If you go beyond that date, then it is easy to look back and say, well, I did all I could. We did not meet the deadline because there were some difficulties we found along the way, or that had been anyway foreseen, and we thought we had means to resolve, or had not been foreseen. But at least it helps you to understand that you did what you could to reach where you wish to be, and only these realities delayed you beyond a certain set date. So I'm of the opinion that we had to start from somewhere, as Rwanda found already the process had started. We were happy to join and add our own efforts to making the integration process a success. And we did not join without understanding that this is a difficult process. But there are frameworks in which people discuss and agree and disagree and raise concerns, and people work together to meet these concerns, and we keep going forward. The pace really depends on how fast people grasp these issues that matter and how they come forward for implementation. It also depends on some of the realities, sometimes which we manage to deal with, others which we may pose some difficulties, but we still have to keep moving on. So this is the way I see it. But principally, integration, absolutely, yes. We have to go the integration way. How fast? As fast as we can. But there are difficulties, and we need to confront these difficulties and overcome them as fast as we can and keep working at everything that we need to work on.
David?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name is Keziom Soket. David, I represent Reuters. My question is a little bit of ICT and business. Rwanda targets about 6 million mobile subscribers by the year 2012. But when you look at the statistics which were released early this week, you could notice that by January this year we had about 3.6 million subscribers, and by May we had about 3.7 subscribers, mobile subscribers. But the 6 million target is a very ambitious target, Your Excellency, but I don't know if it's really very realistic considering the fact that we have two players. The question is, do we see another player coming into this sector, or into this market, or do we see Rwanda actually revising its policies, things like number portability, interconnection fees and taxes, to make sure that actually this target is realized? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I have no problem with being ambitious. That is my starting point. And maybe it relates to the other question about East Africa and integration as well. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious at all. And probably you push hard almost to the point of breaking your back, wanting to achieve that. But somehow the realities regulate you and start putting you in the right position. I find no problem with that method of doing things, because in many cases it has delivered for us. So, but also looking at what you've just said, 3.6, and then in about 4 months another 100,000 added. Yeah, there is an indication that 100,000 can be added. Maybe people look back and say, why was it 100,000? Why was it not 500,000? And say maybe if we had done this, we could have achieved an additional 500,000. So as you go along, there are these difficulties that, from which you draw lessons about how you can do things better. But I think the ambitious target was not out of the blue. People had thought, and there were indications that it is actually achievable. Well, even if you don't get 6 million, you may get 5.6 or 5.5. I think that will be good work done already. But what I want to say, and which answers part of your question, is there is a set target, very ambitious, and as you implement what needs to be implemented towards that point, you learn lessons, you meet difficulties, you find even you've made mistakes, so you correct them, but you still move forward. And I'm sure you are aware of some of the difficulties that were in the sector, because we had 3 operators in the country. One of them had difficulties, and we are remaining with the 2. But we intend to fill the gap again. There is a process ongoing to have again a 3rd operator, so that we have 3 operators in the sector, which encourages competition. And this competition also has tendency to provide good services, to provide different products. They tend to excite the market and also lead to this fast pace we are looking for, and probably reach the ambitious target that we had set. What is evident is there is a growth in the sector. There is more awareness. There is continued improvement. In fact, is being fed into by many other things, including the fact that more Rwandans in the growth and development of our country have increased decent means to even be able to invest in that. You seem to have some follow-on question?
I was thinking probably interconnection fees could be hindering this, because there was
I don't think it is one thing. Interconnection fees could be one of the things, but I don't think it is the only thing. You find it is not just one thing that leads to a problem like that. It's a combination of things. There are many things that happen. Like, for example, I was talking about how the sector was affected by... I also feel like the 3rd operator, having operated the way they did and failed and, got out, has an impact, a negative one, on certainly what is realized in the sector. There's no question about it. And it has nothing to do with the connection fees, the interconnection fees. But that one is also being addressed. The regulator has been working on this for a long time. There have been disputes that I learn you find in many places for different reasons, but I think that is being addressed and is being looked at. So my view is that it is not one problem that would lead to that. It's probably many, and the interconnection fees being one of them, and that is being addressed and it's being looked at by the regulator, as well as they are looking at the problem of the 3rd service provider or the operator coming in.